freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 504 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by PogAuctions.com, Pot of Gold Estate Auctions, where you set the price on guns, coins, ammo, accessories, jewelry, cars, boats, collectibles, you name it. PogAuctions.com. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is paving the road for Statehouse to Congress. And our guest is Joseph Chaplik. Joseph is a 3-term Arizona State representative and small business owner with a proven record of conservative leadership and results. Fighting waste, fraud, and abuse in the state capitol, lowering taxes, defending individual liberty, and standing up to special interests. Known for his independence and conservative principled voting record, Chaplik is now running for U.S. Congress in Arizona, Congressional District number 1, to replace U.S. Representative David Schwiekert, to bring common sense leadership to D.C. Common sense leadership. That's refreshing.
It is. Welcome to the show, Joseph Chaplik. I did it again. Joseph Chaplik.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be part of your show. Of course, that introduction was great. I have served 6 years down at the state capitol as a state representative for this legislative district, which mostly makes up Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and North Phoenix in the part of the Northeast Valley. So, yeah, it's great to be on your show, and I'm looking to take it to the next step to get to U.S. Congress so we can continue to defend our freedoms and our liberties. Not just here in Arizona, but for the country and for every other citizen of our nation.
So as we were saying off air, when I was actually calling you by your correct first name, Joseph, our previous guest was Jason, and it's just locked my brain up. Yeah. So, Joseph, we were saying off air that you have already exhibited leadership in the form of sacrificing things that you were already doing and being very successful at in order to put your full weight behind this effort. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Specifically the Second Amendment, or specifically serving in the Statehouse?
Serving in the Statehouse, and even with your personal business.
Yeah, I actually, I served 10 years in telecom for a company called Sprint back in the day when we were selling long distance to business accounts. And so I was in management there, and I really learned a lot about the core business. It was a Fortune 50 company at the time, so I got a really good foundation of how to be an executive and how to lead and be in management and professional training. And, those organizations, Fortune 500 firms, they really do a good job teaching you a lot of fundamentals, right, for success. And not just how to be successful, but how to lead and how to, control a room, how to control a team, how to control a region, how to understand what it takes to do a good job and succeed. And so with that, I went to another telecom company, and I was in Los Angeles at the time, and they moved me up to Portland, Oregon. So I got to see 2 different unique states, right? I'm originally from Ohio. So that's 3 states now. And although Ohio is red, California and Oregon are blue. And we saw how those policies, how their assault on really everything in the Constitution of what they're driving in these states, mainly led by Democrats. And so with all the telecom experience I had and corporate experience, I started an investment real estate firm, which is a brokerage services for multifamily apartments. And so I did that for the last 20 years. And I just actually closed down the business and retired because this is a full-time job and I want to be in campaign mode. And to do an effective job campaigning, you really have to put all your effort into it. So I pretty much retired at 55 years old. I have all that background with a Fortune 50, a Fortune, probably a 1,000 company, which was Allegiance Telecom, and then a nano company, my little small business that did quite well over the years. And so now I've applied that into government, because giving back and being a good servant to the people, you really have to have talent, because there's a lot of people in our government, as you know, in Congress, it has a low rating. We don't have qualified individuals with meritocracy that actually are doing something for our country. And I think that's a driving point to get better people involved, at your city level, your school district level, your county, your state, and national, because we do need better talent in government. And we have good talent right now, but we got to build on that. We got to continue to grow the talent to make a big difference for any, government agency. And so that's where all my skills came in. I got down to the Capitol. I evolved as a leader quickly. I was a founding member of the Arizona Freedom Caucus, and we drove a lot of good policy down there. And I'll be honest, the Arizona Freedom Caucus, right? Any Freedom Caucus, we stand for, fighting against special interest and bad policies that are against your constituents. That's our driver. It doesn't matter who made the policy or who dropped the bill. If it's bad policy or it's going against the constituents that we represent, then we're going to fight it. And that's the founding principles of the Freedom Caucus. And I was honored to be a founding member, and I was a treasurer, secretary, and as well as the vice chair of that caucus over the last 5 years.
It's kind of mind-blowing that we need a caucus for freedom, but that is where we find ourselves in not just our nation, but in our own state of Arizona, that, people they flock here for freedom. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I mean, freedom is really, free from despotism and oppression and tyranny. And we've been 250 years strong with that. And the liberty is, how we choose to live within our country, where we want to live, what we want to do for our career, where we want to worship, what schools our kids go to. That's the liberty part. And so that's constantly under attack by the Democrats. I call them the party of evil. They're trying to shred the Second Amendment as well as everything else in the Constitution. But, look, there's Republicans, there's independents, there's Democrats, and we're the Republican Party. And within the Republican Party, you can really, divide out who the real conservatives are just based on a voting record.
Yes.
The voting record is the board of truth. This is how you vote. And I have, 5.5 years, 6, sessions of being down at the Capitol. I just resigned last couple weeks ago. So I've already clocked into the 4 months we'll be down there, maybe longer. But the voting record is your proven record, right? When people are trying to guess what people are going to do when they get elected, you don't have to do that anymore. I made promises when I first got elected. I beat an incumbent for the Statehouse that was going on his 4th term that had a bad vote, some bad policies, and I exposed those and I won. And now I've been down there 3 terms. And the reality is that is your proven voting record, what you've done down there. And I've kept every promise that I said I would do as a true conservative. And I think the state has seen that.
Yes.
Well, Joseph, you've been an Arizona State representative for 3 terms. That's 6 years. Each term, each time that you were voted in, did you have to swear to uphold the Constitution?
100%. And we do the pledge every morning too.
Okay, so I'm curious, like I understand there's a lot of guys that are good at what they do, women too, they're good at what they do, but is there a deal that says I will uphold the Constitution except for, or because I see so many representatives that are taking away our rights constantly.
And they should have taken the same oath as you did.
Right. The Constitution is clear. How are we allowing this to happen?
Well, I think there's a lot of drivers to it. I mean, look, I've been down there 6 terms or 6 years and 3 terms, and there's a lot of powerful lobbyists and special interest groups and bullies that try to manipulate, people to vote a different way. I talk with all of them. I understand their role, but I also use their role as a resource to know more about bills. I don't have them use me to vote for bills they want me to vote for. And I definitely don't take campaign funds from special interests and lobbyists where I owe them something. I'm uncompromised down there. I have a great voting record for my people, the constituents of this district, and I'll do the same in the congressional district. I've been bullied, threatened. I've had death threats. Definitely during COVID when I was down there trying to get masks off the children for schools. I got death threats for that. But I don't know. I can't answer for anyone else. I don't answer to the special interest or the lobbyists or anyone else. I don't answer to leadership. I answer to the people that elected me. the district, legislative district that I've represented for 6 years, they are all behind me. I have the full grassroots support of them, and that's carried over into the other legislative districts that make up this congressional race. Obviously, it's a bigger territory, but yeah, the other LDs know who I am. They know my voting record. They know what I've done, and I don't waver.
Well, you have a proven record, and I think it's great. And thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing to keep our Constitution strong. And as far as lobbyists go, I didn't really have an opinion on lobbyists before, but I've met a couple, and they're good for giving you information. They're good for letting you know. But when they start bullying or that's a different subject. But there should be some kind of caucus, I guess they call it, that would take these non-constitutional bills out. Let's fight to get these bills out that are against our Constitution.
Well, there's a rules committee, right? There's,
but
it's a long process, yeah.
And
but you're only as good as the chairmen of these committees, which are the ones that voted for the Speaker of the House, which then gets rewarded with these committees. I mean, it's a big game, and we have to continue to grow the minority of true conservatives in every government agency, the government state office, definitely in DC, to continue to fight back. I mean, the people should be winning, not the special interest, leadership, lobbyist class.
Amen to that.
Yes.
So we've talked about your voting record, right? And that there is a clear paper trail right there. People can look and see how have you behaved when you've been entrusted as a representative. If people take the time to look, it's there. And we've used the word compromise to say, that the Freedom Caucus is about not compromising, that sort of thing. But there are a lot of people that have been entrusted with our vote, right? We've hired them with our votes that do compromise. And it seems like so often it is our Second Amendment. It's our right to keep and bear arms. And so I wanted to ask you about two specific things that people, they start doing this head bob because the other side that hates our rights have done a good job of marketing the ideas of them and making them sound reasonable, but they do such harm. One is red flag laws, which is basically a confiscation scheme for firearms because they sell it to us like, well, of course you don't want crazy people to have guns in their hands, right? And it's like, well, if the whole idea is you're just going to show up with police officers and take just the guns and just the guns you know about, you're leaving the knives, you're leaving, the car, you're leaving every other way that people can hurt each other, then what is this really, right? So red flag laws and then universal background checks. So many people get tricked by that thinking, well, of course we want everyone to have a background check because if one person does, then we all should. But bad guys that are going to do the wrong things with guns are going to find ways to skirt that. And really all you're doing is burdening more the individual who wants to follow the law and wants to be a responsible gun owner. So when you're presented with these ideas, these red flag laws, these universal gun background checks, these are areas that people are going to put pressure on you to compromise and find a way to wiggle and bend. And I want to ask you on the record, what is your red line in the sand?
Well, listen, I've been A-rated by the NRA. I've been endorsed by police divisions, Police Association of Arizona, Arizona Conference of Police and Sheriffs, Arizona Fraternity Order of Police, Arizona Community College Police Associations. There's a reason why they endorse, because even when you're not elected and you're a candidate, they look at your past to see what you've said on social media today or what your stances have been. And I've never made any of those opinions out there that would waver against the Second Amendment. I know others have, and you can look up their social media posts. But immediately when I got down there, I learned right away that the red flag laws, and of course the sheriff from Maricopa County has endorsed me. I worked with Sheriff Joe when he was the sheriff. I knew right away any red flag, you open the door an inch, and the Second Amendment is going to get shredded shortly. And so when I first got down in office in 2020, we ran a bunch of bills because Governor Ducey was still the Republican governor. We've had the last 4 years of Democrat Katie Hobbs. She's not signing any gun bills. But I've seen the horrific gun bills that the Democrats have dropped in the cycle every year to strip away our rights. And of course, they never get heard because we have the Republican majority, thank God, in the House and Senate. But with Katie Hobbs as a Democrat in the governor's office, if we lose the House and Senate in Arizona, it's over. They're going to pass everything, worse than Virginia, worse than California. So immediately when I got down there, we got Second Amendment laws going to protect. One of them is HB 2111. And that was something, again, I was a co-sponsor of it. We pushed it through. We only had a one vote majority in both chambers back in the day, and we needed everybody's vote. So that essentially made Arizona a sanctuary city against violating the Second Amendment. Right. So the federal government could not make laws against the state against the Second Amendment, and we're not going to uphold them. So we were basically a sanctuary Second Amendment state, and that was huge because now that protected us. It essentially, the language says prohibits Arizona from using any state resources to enforce any federal laws that are inconsistent with our Second Amendment at the federal level, essentially making us that sanctuary state for the Second Amendment. That was huge. We passed a few other bills throughout the years that, again, reinforced that, but Hobbs is not going to sign anything that goes against her party. A few of these bills did get held in the Senate years ago. I don't understand why. One is expands where we can carry as a valid concealed carry, concealed handgun license permit. But I think we still need to kind of have constitutional carry across all the states. That's something that I'll push in DC. I honestly, I carry every day. I have two weapons that I carry. One's a Ruger 380 for a small compact, and the other is the 6-hour P365. Those are a little bit larger but smaller handguns for concealment. I think we should be able to drive across state lines and still have that right to carry those guns. And constitutional carry is huge. We got to get that passed across our country. So again, anything that is going to restrict the Second Amendment, we're going to fight against. I think I've proven that. Of course, with the law enforcement that I've volunteered with as well, with the U.S. Marshals and the Sheriff's Advisory Posse, as well as the Memorial Fund, I think people see that I stand with law enforcement. I stand with the Second Amendment. I have a uniform. We carry a gun. We go in parades. We go to public, services to keep awareness of, the community, that police are good. I think President Obama put really the police on a spotlight over the 8 years he was president, that the war on police started. And kids grew up hating the police, and we got to get back to that. And so through community awareness with these organizations that I serve on, I think we're doing that. We ride in parades on horseback. We do Shop with a Cop. We do golf outings to raise money for fallen officers, all here in Arizona with the U.S. Marshals. It's very unique, and I'm proud to do that and stand with law enforcement.
So, Joseph, there's people on the fence that listen to our program. In your words, could you tell us why the red flag law is not a good law?
Well, again, if you do any of that, it starts infringing on the Second Amendment. And it's going to start shredding it. You open the door once, and they're going to start pushing it. It's the same thing with what happens with any bill. It doesn't matter the topic. You get one bill through that is hurtful to the state, and it will expand and grow. Every year you go down to the Capitol, they will continue to expand that statute, and the Constitution continues to get, shredded. And that's the same with the Second Amendment. You open up longer background checks. You start taking away some freedom off the Second Amendment. You do trigger locks or assault rifle bans or magazine, capacity levels. It just won't stop. Once you let one red flag in, it just continues to go on and on and on. And they're going to continue to grow it. That's why you have to have that Second Amendment wall. You cannot let any cracks get into it. And I will serve like that in DC where, heck no, we're not going to have trigger locks or assault rifle bans or magazine capacities. Absolutely not. Because once you start that, it will never end. And within a short period of time, the Second Amendment's going to be gone.
So you're kind of describing California to me right now.
Yeah, and other liberal states too.
Yeah. California used to be one of the freest states, the best place to go to a gun show. Used to be, and they just slowly chipped away. And you can see in about a 20 or 30 year period where they have lost almost everything. And now they're talking about maybe losing Glock because they're convertibles.
They're calling convertible pistols.
And then we look at, and I'm really shocked about Virginia because Virginia didn't happen in 30 years. It happened overnight.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. The country's not getting safer. I mean, President Trump's doing a great job right now after the 4 years debacle of the Obama Biden 4 years that opened our border and let 20 million illegals into our country that hate us. We're not a safer community. And now you're going to try to strip our guns away that protects our family and our children and ourselves, especially if you're elected official or anybody else. I mean, look, I go into a lot of places, they have, guns aren't permitted here. Well, you know what? The bad guys don't look at that sign and walk back and put their gun in their car and then decide not to go in and shoot people. This is the hypocrisy of the left. They think that the criminals are actually going to abide by the law too when you put a sign up.
Right.
These
Right.
gun safe zones. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that's what's going to happen. I mean, we have all the examples. I mean, you look at Chicago, gun-free zone, there's shootings every day. Who is it? It's the criminals, the illegals, people that get weapons that they shouldn't have had, and they're doing it. They're violating the law. Meanwhile, the community that abides by the law can't protect themselves or family.
Right.
Right.
It's
So
shameful.
true.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how some powerful pro Second Amendment organizations have endorsed you and quizzed you and, kind of put you under the hot spotlight and the whole thing. The one that really speaks very strongly to me is that Gun Owners of America, I don't know if they've endorsed you, but they definitely have, given you their seal of approval in some way, and you can tell us how that played out. But the reason that I kind of lean into that is because they are the no compromise group, and they pride themselves, and that is part of the core of who they are as an organization. And so to have them kind of sign off on you says a lot. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, those endorsements are from the past 6 years serving at the Capitol, and right now I'm a new candidate for U.S. Congress, so we're just going through that cycle right now. We just completed the filing a week or two ago, where now we know how the field is set, and so these endorsements hopefully start rolling out. I don't know if they're going to get involved in the primaries or the general, or wait for the general, but I do believe a lot of these endorsements are going to start coming, like the Arizona Community College Police Association actually endorsed me for this Congress race, and I think the others will join too, based on my background and my voting record. But the Gun Owners of America, I went to D.C. Last month, had meetings with a lot of organizations, and I'm waiting for their endorsements. But when we walked out of the conference room with several groups there, they said, "Listen, I don't think we've seen a better candidate for Congress in all the years that we've been doing this, and you definitely should be endorsed. We're going to talk about it." And, they actually recommended me to, of course, be in the Freedom Caucus, but also be the chairman of it, because they're like, we need more people like you. And it was an honor to hear that. And, I left that meeting feeling good, but it's really just my principles and how I'm the same person every day. And this is what I stand for. And I let them know that. And I filled out their questionnaire, but we talked about exactly what we're talking about here, the past and what I've been doing and how I'm going to continue to fight for that. And so it's great to hear that when they say something that honorable, where they put me on a pedestal of being a high candidate for, qualifications.
Absolutely. And I know that a lot of organizations' hands are tied, and even individuals' hands are tied until we get past the primary,
Mhm.
because, we want to have good relations with whichever candidate ends up, sitting in the seat. But when you mentioned, checking previous like comments on social media and things of that nature, I know that there's a candidate in your race right now that has a very bad record of supporting a couple of the things we've already talked about, like red flag laws and universal background checks, and more legislation piled on the backs of responsible gun owners. And so that would make me want to, prod the GOA specifically to say, maybe we get ahead of the primary on this particular one, but I'm not a decision maker. I'm a life member and have good relations with the people in charge. But I feel like there are certain instances when it makes sense to go ahead and put your weight behind the person that has the record, right? So,
Look, we know this from just experience when you look at people in Congress that are not voting the way they, said they would, or what we thought they would when we voted for that person to get into the office. If we only dig into some of our backgrounds, and all the information is there. If somebody says they're for trigger locks, or they're for background checks, or they're for assault rifle bans, These are red flags to the candidate that we should be looking at
Yeah.
and not waver from it and be like, well, they're going to change once they get in. They typically change to the worst when they get in, because if we know
Mm-hmm.
who candidates are,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to, if they're not for most of our policies, once they get elected, they're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to get rid of incumbents, especially at the federal level. So if we don't get it right, we could have somebody that could be voting against Second Amendments in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. That is going to be horrible for the Second Amendment. And then you have me, who stood with the Second Amendment. I have the voting record. You've seen what I've done in the Statehouse. You've seen some of the policies. You see my law enforcement background with volunteering and being engaged and personal caring every day. I'm not going to waver from that. I'm going to stay true to what I've done. And so that's the difference. That's the pinnacle of what we're trying to accomplish here in Congress. It has a low 15-20% rating of approval. If we want to improve that for the country, and Eli Crane says it best, you want to fix DC, send better people here. Quit sending people here that fold, that don't have a spine, that bend to the pressure. Because whether it's leadership, it's bad policy, it's special interest, it's bullies, if you start bending on that, then they're going to own you for everything else.
Yeah.
And there's
So
not
the
many
GOA,
that stand strong. Yeah.
the GOA has a no compromise, and we should have a no compromise when we elect candidates, that we only elect people that have proven that they follow the Constitution. And if if you have a cable lock, or if you have a red flag law, then you're not a pure constitutionalist,
That's
is my
true.
opinion. So,
Well, and you have to be proud of some of these endorsements that I am seeing on your webpage. I mean, Sheriff Jerry Sheridan, that's a pretty solid
Oh, he's great.
constitutionalist
Yeah.
sheriff right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of the people that you worked with on the Arizona State Legislature, to have their confidence, to have them come out before the primary, and to have them speak up and say, yeah, he's a good, solid guy. That really says something. When your peers, when your coworkers can praise you publicly, knowing they've got their own campaigns to run at some point, right? They could be sticking their neck out
Right.
if you were even a risky bet. I mean, that really says something.
Cheryl, it's all on the website, like you said, josephchaplik.com, but I have close to 90 endorsements of formerly elected grassroots leaders, legislative district, involved individuals that are in politics that are moving the needle. Over 100 is the goal. And I don't know if I've seen a candidate with close to 100 endorsements of prominent people like this in a state. These aren't people from DC. These aren't people that are lobbyists. These are individuals that have done something for the state, whether they're elected, formerly elected, like I said, or just a grassroots patriot that's doing good things for our district and for the state and for the community. These are I'm at 88 to be actual with you right now as of today. And I think I'm growing it to 90 by the end of this week, and my goal is over 100. That is positive. That is powerful. That tells you what people think of me running for U.S. Congress. I honestly don't even believe it should have been a primary race. I should be the only one in this race getting ready to fight on the Democrats in the general, to be honest with you. One gentleman lives an hour and a half south of here. He has no interest of moving into this district. The other one moved here from California 5-6 years ago. Nice guy, but neither of them have legislative experience. Neither of them have been willing to serve in any state position. They've been unwilling to run for city council or be in the state house or the state senate for a term or two, just to understand more and prove themselves to the voters. We got to stop sending people to the federal level that have never voted for anybody else and has never been elected and think they're going to be like the best thing since sliced bread. It very rarely happens.
Boy, that's powerfully said. We were talking a little bit about the importance of committees. Like Dan is saying, why can't we kill these bills before they get a chance if they're not even based in the Constitution? Well, a lot of that does come down to committees. It comes down to the people that are running the committees and serving on the committees. And I think that people don't even understand that they exist, and they definitely don't understand the significance of them. Should you be elected to U.S. Congress, which committees would best serve our state through you from the federal level?
Okay, well, to go backwards just for a second there, I think regardless if you're in the state or the national level, I think you should be serving on committees that are best suited for your strengths as well as for the state strengths, right? So at the state level, I was the chairman of Regulatory Oversight and Ethics Committee. I was the vice chairman of Appropriations and Commerce because I have a business background. I'm the member of Public Safety and Law Enforcement. Obviously, you know my background in law enforcement. Health and Human Services, huge committee, as well as Transportation. So I've served on a lot of these committees to understand a lot of different areas for the state. Now, at the national level, again, I'd go to leadership once elected and say, these are my strengths that I want to do, not for me, but for the state of Arizona. Because I believe as a border state, we need to super protect this state. So a couple of things would be Homeland Security. Why? Because they oversee the border. The drugs, the fentanyl coming through here, the human trafficking, the cartels. This is a committee that's important to the state. And I want to serve on that because I think the constituents of the state need a heavy hitter in Congress that's going to stand with them like I've been at the state level for the federal level. Another one is judiciary. Why is judiciary important? Why? Because they oversee the election integrity piece as well as immigration process. What do we have in Arizona? We have an immigration process being a border state, just pouring over our border illegally. Also, if you haven't heard, we have election problems in Arizona. So, I mean, we need to get a hold of that. Another one would be the oversight accountability, because I've already served on regulatory oversight, although we're not the executive office, we're the legislative office. But that's extremely important because that's the chief investigative body, the Oversight and Accountability Committee. And I want to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. I believe that if we get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our government at the national level, we'll cut $2 trillion out of the budget and we'll be a balanced budget. What does that tell you? That means we're overtaxing people $2 trillion in this country. Same with the state. I guarantee you, there's Minnesota just tipped the iceberg of what they found with the Leering centers, right? And
Yes.
I mean, the Somalis are, we call them pirates for one reason. They're looting us. And they've looted Minneapolis and Minnesota, and they're doing it in other states as well. And it's just hard to find. And we're going to continue to do it. Look, Arizona is a $17 billion budget. That's a $17 billion enterprise every year. It's a little hard to find missing money.
Yeah.
Unless you do a full audit, which we don't do because you have to bring in a third agency. The same with the federal government. $6 trillion. That is an enormous budget. It's very hard to find. I think shutting down K through 12, the Department of Education at the federal level is a great thing. And there's a lot of other agencies we need to get rid of as well. Look, the ATF, people think that Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is a great agency. They're the first one assaulting the Second Amendment.
Yes, they are.
I think we can do without them. There's so much corruption. And I think Obama put a lot of this in our federal government with these agencies and corrupting them. But we have to root them out. I think President Trump's doing a great job going after these agencies and straightening it out. The FBI, CIA, there's a lot of groups that we can clean up. But the ATF, I've learned and I know that they're the first one going after the Second Amendment. And, let's
And we were having a discussion. Why do we even need the ATF?
We don't.
The FBI or the DOJ could handle that. We don't need an agency for this.
And if there's good people working there, we'll move them to another agency.
Exactly.
That are upholding our Constitution, upholding the Second Amendment, then we'll move them to somewhere else. I think we know who's for and against the Second Amendment in that agency.
Yeah. That's not hard to tell.
When Biden became elected, we had a pretty big gun shop in Arizona. And when Biden said no compromise on errors, they
Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. We had an audit every year. We have an audit, and it was about 3 days. My last audit when Biden became office was 30 days. My audit was 30 days.
I mean, at some point that becomes harassment, or at least it feels like harassment,
and
right?
we passed everything, but as soon as that was over, I closed it.
Yeah.
Because I just, I didn't, I just felt like they're going to get me for something. Just,
Right. And it's something as simple as if somebody writes, I live at 123 Elm Drive instead of they really live at 123 Elm Lane. Something like that is a zero tolerance. And people were losing their license over something that basic and that simple. And ultimately, the FBI, the ATF is the one that says yes or no to any gun sale anyway. And are we auditing them? Are we making sure that they've crossed their T's and dotted their I's? We're not.
I
And
know.
so
Well, I
to
can show
get
you
back to the
several
point.
mistakes that the ATF has made.
Absolutely.
Several mistakes, and
Well,
they
look,
have.
Obama weaponized these agencies against
Yeah.
American citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Pure and
did.
simple.
Absolutely.
But I will clear it. There are some good agents with the ATF. There are some good
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
And we'll
So
keep them around. We'll find another
Right.
role for them.
I
sure.
like it. I
Yeah.
like it. So we are starting to run a little short on time, but I did want to ask you, I feel like you've said it in different ways, but when we elect somebody in this nation, we're supposed to be electing somebody that represents us.
Mhm.
Right now, that's a conversation. That's a two-way street. First of all, we have to help you know how to represent us once we've elected you. But the representative themselves has to have that mindset that they're not just in there for their own glory. They're in there to represent the people that place them there. So I wanted to ask you, I wanted you to describe the significance of being an elected representative.
Well, look, I take the oath every year when I go down there, get sworn in, and it's meaningful, right? Our founding fathers have a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. We're not a 51% mob rule. Okay, that's a democracy. I hate hearing people say we're a democracy because we're a constitutional republic. And look, I joke with my wife all the time. If I was born in the 1700s, I probably would have been in the Revolutionary War trying to help this country survive, right? So it's interesting, but look, we have a role to play, and that role is serving our nation. Right. I didn't serve in the military in the 80s because, it was peacetime with Reagan and, they just weren't recruiting in my high school. I wish I would have. I'm giving back now. Right. This is an honor to serve. I have a ton of experience with business, a ton of experience with volunteering efforts, not just in law enforcement, a lot of children charities as well. And I've raised a family of four, right? My wife and two kids, we have a family of four. And I am giving back now to the community. And I'm giving back to the state, and I want to give back to the federal government, our country, because we need to fix things. We need to get it straight and understand how the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And so when you're down there at the state level, and I'm down in DC, yeah, it's an honor to serve because we need better people like our founding fathers wanted. You live and work and pray and raise your family and spend money in your community. And then they ask you to go and represent that community that you live in government. They didn't say go pick another area and go represent some place you've never been to that you don't know anybody, right? This is the representative form of government that we're supposed to be doing. Now, I know there's imaginary lines and districts that are just on the other side of the street, but that's your community. You still live and work and play and pray in those areas. But when you're an hour and a half south of a region, you're not even close to that community. You haven't gone to school with your kids there. You haven't volunteered. You haven't coached Little League or flag football, or you haven't paid taxes. You haven't even voted in that district. I mean, there's a candidate in this race that can't even vote for himself on the ballot because he doesn't live here. He's not going to get a ballot. So that's how the founding fathers wanted to frame our country, which was a constitutional republic. Live and work and pray and play in that area, and then go represent those people because you know your community, you know your constituents, you know your surrounding. And that's what I'm doing right now. That's the highest level of what I can give back in my lifetime of serving this great country. And we'll see where it goes. It was an honor to serve in the Statehouse for 5.5 years. They absolutely were the longest 5 years of probably the state history, easily the 5 of the top 8 longest sessions. So I really clocked in about 12 years at the Statehouse in experience with timing because we've had super long sessions. And I'm ready to go. Like I said, I shut down my business. I've stepped down from the Capitol to be 100% committed to this race, to be 100 committed to this great state of Arizona as the next congressman in this district, as well as our government, the United States of America. I mean, we need to fix the way it's broken. And the United States of America is a great country, and we need to continue to do that. We've made it 250 years, and I'd like to see, hopefully well after I'm gone, another 250 years. And more people get up and get involved. Whether you can run for office or you can volunteer or you can get involved in your legislative district or you can get involved with your school board or your city council, anything. Get involved and help steer the ship to the right direction of our country needs right now.
Just vote.
Yes.
How about
Well,
something
that's the
simple
other
like
thing.
that?
Yeah, geez, that's without even saying.
So we have senators that are anti-gun, that are married into anti-gun groups, that really believe that the people they represent want tighter gun control. How does that senator who does the oath thing to protect our Constitution vote against these bills, vote for these bills to restrict our gun rights when it's against the Constitution? But he says it's for the people and the people want it.
Well, I think like you just
Represent
said,
me.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you just said people need to vote, right? But that's not just all they have to do. They have to educate themselves, right? We don't teach civics anymore in grade school and elementary school and high school. We've stopped doing that. We stopped giving the Pledge of Allegiance in all the classrooms. I think that's horrible. I mean, we're allegiance to the country, right? The flag's behind me because, I hang it outside my house every day. I'm one of the few houses in the neighborhood that has a flag flying with a light on it at night. But they have to educate themselves. They have to understand what people are doing. Look, districting the state up with congressional seats and the legislative seats, the gerrymandering. Yeah. So maybe the senator is saying, well, this is what the people wanted. But as state senators, the whole state, Arizona does not want to vote against the Second Amendment. We're a Wild West state. We're the Old West. We always will be that. We have the rodeo still. We are the Wild West. We want to continue to have our right for the Second Amendment. But people need to educate themselves and understand how to vote. Do your homework. Get involved. There's golden tickets all the time by conservative groups. There's endorsements that people have that you can track and see. But more or less, with today's social media, it should be easier than heck to go look up somebody and see what they've been saying or what they've been doing. And if they're elected, look at their vote record. And you should be able to understand if they're good or bad for you and how you want to live. And if you want to have it that way, then vote for that person. But I don't think most of our states are voting for that. Yes.
I think you hit it on the nail. I mean, even when I'm 70 years old, and when I was in school, there was very little talk about the Constitution in school. They started phasing it out even before I was in school. And if people realize how great the Constitution is and how our country was formed off of that, then maybe if they were educated enough to know about it, then maybe they would start voting different.
I agree.
Yeah, and they've dumbed us down in the schools for the Democrats that controlled the schools. I mean, let's be honest, the Democrats control the school systems for the most part, and they've dumbed us down because they don't want people to understand how to vote on the conservative side or the Republican side. They're trying to get people to manipulate how they think and push an agenda that just this country does not want. What is it, 80%, 20%? 20% is pushing what 80% don't want.
Right.
In this country. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Independent, or a Democrat. There are some policies that the Democrats are pushing that 80% of this country absolutely does not want.
Right.
That's true. So last question. So to get elected in Arizona, I mean, it used to be, we had a third Democrat, a third Republican, and a third Independent.
Right.
I think that has moved probably in large part to the Turning Point organization that has really been out there chasing the vote. And I'm feeling like we've got a lot more registered Republicans and hopefully engaged and intelligent, informed for this next election coming up. But you will still have to appeal to other people in your district, right? That maybe do ascribe more to an independent mindset or a Democrat, worldview. How can you coalition build in order to help people see that, it's more than just the party, right? It really is about what our nation was founded on, and that we are the stewards of that to pass to the next generation. How can you be, true to all that you are, and also appeal to people whose votes you might need and support you might need once you're in office?
Well, I think you hit on something that I want to mention here. I think this is the first time that I've seen this generation not leaving the next generation a better country. I mean, we've kind of lost that in the last 30 years, I'd say, where everyone's for themselves and what can they get in their lifetime before they die. And I don't believe in that. Like my parents were born in the 30s. I was born in the 70s, early 70s. I want to leave the next generation something better than what we had. And that's why I serve. As far as looking at, what can we do? Well, Look, I've ran in a general election before when I first got elected. There was like a +8 Republican district and went against a Democrat. And I beat him quite handsomely with the numbers. And it's because I'm not some far right lunatic. I have common sense. I have business background. I have respect with my colleagues, including across the aisle. When I stepped down from the legislature, 5 Democrats called me and said, Joe, we're going to miss you down here. We respect you. You did well because I'm not disrespectful to people. We got to have a communication mechanism to be able to work on issues and talk about it. Yeah, we're going to argue on policy. Maybe we don't see eye to eye on the same policy, but that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be trashing and humiliating and attacking our colleagues. And some people do. Now, look, I don't line up with anything on the left, okay? But I will have that debate. I'll have that discussion. And I think that's what we need to start driving is that communication piece. And again, with my background, this is what we've had, like the talent level. I learned how to communicate through a Fortune 50 company. They do professional training. You learn how to lead and present and communicate with an organization and how to have an agenda and how to have executive functioning skills. It's the same thing right now. You're talking about how do you win over independents and Democrats. Maybe I get some soft Democrats that believe that I've been doing good for this state and I stand for them. The independents, I think, are breaking towards me. I've done it before. I get independents because I have common sense. I serve everybody. I'm not just serving the Republicans because I'm a Republican, I'm elected. I serve my whole district, everybody in the district. And I think, again, my power is granted through the constituents, the people that vote. Whether they voted for me or not, I still am granted power from them because I represent them in our form of representative government. And I understand that. Some people don't. Some people think I only represent Republicans because I'm a Republican, or I only represent Democrats because I'm a Democrat. Okay, no, that's not who we are. We got to have, civil debate. We got to have a dialogue to talk and be there. If a Democrat called me as a state rep right now, a constituent said, I need help, I'm helping them. I'm going to do whatever I can to help them, even if they didn't vote for me, because I want them to say, I didn't vote for that person the first time, but boy, did they deliver. I'm going to vote for them again. This next time, because I think they're the right person for the role. But again, we're so divided on politics. It's the Democrats have a lot of hate towards Republicans and anyone else. And I think we need to bring that together. It's going to take time. But to answer your question, Cheryl, yeah, common sense. I am not some far right lunatic. I will stand on principles. I will stand on common sense to help everybody in this state and in the United States of America. And that's what we need, better representation. There'll be a tough general. We did sign up 50,000 more Republican voters in this district the last 4 years. So we are a +12 Republican district. I think the Democrats they're going to compete, but this is not a top 5 or 10 seat in the country anymore. It's just not. You can go to the DCCC, check out what they're posting. This is not even a top 15 seat for them anymore. I think because they feel I'm going to be the one representing the Republican Party in the general. With all my background and legislative experience, they know they have a tough chance of beating me. And with a +12, it's going to perform probably like a +7 or 8 with the changing of a guard of a new congressman election in 2026. But if you look at their site, they actually told us this is number 44 out of 50 of the top seats they're trying to win. It is no longer a top 25, a top 5. It is almost at the end of their list because they know they're going to see me as a formidable candidate coming out of the primary. I'm the only one elected. I'm the only one with a voting record. I have close to 100 endorsements, as I told you, and the grassroots are behind me. I go to the other legislative districts to speak. I get standing ovations. This is districts I haven't represented because I represented LD3. I'm talking about LD2, LD4, LD5 I'm going to speak. These districts are heavily for me.
Nice.
So again, the primary is the primary. We have to win the general. We need to have this seat as a Republican. I'm aligned with Make America Great Again. I'm aligned with Make America Healthy Again. I'm aligned with Trump's policies. But, I'm going to do what the constituents want me to do. And the constituents are all in my corner. The grassroots are all in my corner in this district.
Fantastic. All right. Well, as we go out, tell folks, we know that every campaign runs on 2 things, manpower and money power. And so how can people get in your corner, get behind you and help out?
Well, my website's josephchaplik.com. And if they want a Second Amendment warrior that's never going to waver and is going to govern with listening to their constituents. And again, I think the Second Amendment may be the most important amendment today because of the violence we have in this country and with the open border we had for 4 years. And if they want a warrior that's going to go to DC and stand with them and fight and make sure that this crack never happens in the wall for the Second Amendment or any red flag laws that get pushed through because somebody says this is what we should be doing. No, absolutely not. Then help me out, donate, go to my website. Even if it's a small donation, make it monthly. We are going to hold the line. And you're going to be proud of me representing not only Arizona, but the United States of America as the next congressman from Arizona 1 District. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. And the name of the website again?
JosephChaplik.com.
Couldn't be
That's my
simpler.
name.
Thank you so much for all that you're doing. And we'll be watching and having you back on to find out where are we on the journey as you move towards that seat in Congress and for CD1.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you for the support.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Joseph Chaplik. Fantastic. My goodness. I love how he refers to, needing warriors and how he quoted Eli Crane, who's another one of our congressmen from Arizona, who was a Navy SEAL. And the frustrations that I know that he's experienced there coming from a structure like the SEAL teams, right? Like the military, into a structure like Washington, D.C., where there's so much corruption and so much lying and, so many spineless people who just really all they're concerned about is their next election and, getting on TV. So to think about having, the two of them working together at the federal level, it feels encouraging to me. And we're not even in CD1. We're in a different district here in Arizona, so I can't, vote for Joseph Chaplik, but his record is one that makes me say that's the kind of person that I would like to see in there fighting for us.
Right. No, I agree 100%. If we could just get people that would follow the Constitution, how much better this world would be for us.
I know. That's the frustrating thing. We've got the recipe book.
And it
right?
It worked until the 1950s. Then they started changing it, trying to change things around.
Yeah. This little guy right here. If you just get one of these pocket constitutions and read it, probably you're reading it for the first time. Look how thin that is. That takes about an hour and a half of your time and give you the basic foundation.
They take our guns away from us. Then the next time you're driving in your car and you get pulled over, they can search your car without a warrant. They can, without probable cause. Then they can arrest you and put you in jail for a week before they even tell you what they're being charged in, and so on and so on and so on. So if you want to be free, follow the Constitution from the start. Mm-hmm. Don't be selective about, well, this is okay, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Follow the Constitution, 100%. Absolutely. There's so many laws that we could just throw away if we could follow the Constitution.
So true. All right.
Wham.
Well, no, that's not a wham. That's I hope that's an encouragement to people to educate themselves, read the Constitution for yourself. Don't ask ChatGPT to interpret it for you. You could probably read it faster than you can even get the response from AI. Just read it for yourself.
Well, first we need to say thank you to Joseph Chaplik for being on the show, and thank you for all the listeners, and thank you for the input and everything else. And then Cheryl's going to talk to you about something.
Absolutely. So we are talking so much about, America and our values and where we came from. And if we aren't protecting American jobs on American soil, buying American-made products, that is a huge portion of what our responsibilities are as citizens that we're leaving on the sidelines. So today, I want to invite you to join an invitation-only shopping network called patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. This private invitation-only shopping club is helping our family and millions of others to cut the cord on those huge corporations where you buy your laundry soap and your shampoo and your snacks. Cut the cord. start buying here, patriothousehold.com/GFR, because you are supporting American jobs on American soil, and you will also be supporting our mission, and we appreciate patriothousehold.com.
What is that
for their
backslash thing
support.
again?
GFR. Also, a very similar name, patriotmobile.com, is the only, in America, the only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Our family switched over a few months ago, and all of my phone calls, all of my texts, and all of my selfies are being fueled by patriotmobile.com/GFR. When you do that, not only do you get some free goodies, but you also are supporting the work that Dan and I do, the travel for all the speaking that I do, and that sort of thing. You will keep your number, you will keep your phone, and you will keep your values. patriotmobile.com/GFR. And finally, if you go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, you scroll down, you will find a company called Attorneys on Retainer. You'll find some other great companies there too. But Attorneys on Retainer, if you have thought enough ahead that you own tools of self-defense, that you've taken the training, then think far enough ahead to know that if you ever, God forbid, have to protect your life or your family's life with that tool or any tool, the law will visit itself upon you, and you will need an attorney on retainer. If you click through that link on our website and become a member like our family is, full disclosure, we are all members of Attorneys on Retainer, then we will get a small portion of all of your memberships and your family's memberships. So please do that. All right, we are really behind the time, but please, if you are wanting to watch this video or share this video, you can find it on YouTube or Rumble. And when you go there, tell those platforms that you value these conversations. And the way you do that is by clicking the notification button and by clicking the subscribe button. That gives us a hedge against cancel culture when those platforms' algorithms tell them that the audience is much broader than what they think it is. And if you want to listen to the audio-only version, then go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, click the On-Demand tab, and
binge listen to your heart's content, darling.
And then if you want to see photos and bios and links to all of our guests, including Joseph Chaplik, then you click the Guest tab. It is an ever-growing database of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right. Until next time, we are going to
pray for our nation.
We're going to pray for our leaders, right? Like Joseph Chaplik, who is a leader in his community.
He is a leader, and it needs to be prayed for. We need to pray for constitutional leaders.
Yes.
Constitutional leaders.
And then what about the ones that we're frustrated with? Like
the ones that aren't constitutional leaders?
Mm-hmm. We pray for them especially more.
When the aliens come down and say, send us to your leaders, we're going to give them those.
That's the ones.
Yeah. Do you want the constitutional leaders or the non-constitutional? We don't care. We need to eat something. Okay, well, we're going to give you the non-constitutional leaders.
My stars.
That's what happens when aliens come down.
Okay.
That's really, I've seen enough movies to know.
All right. Well, until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.